I welcome you for today's live class, and it is as you know that flyer you have must have seen, and it is a part by part. So there will be a in total 4 to 5 sessions, different date. You will be notified about the dates through mail. Okay, this is the first session about learning disability. Good evening. I'm getting so many messages in the chat box, but I'm replying everyone to call. Very good evening to everyone. Just wait for 2 or 3 minutes. Let's other join. Then we will start directly the topic. Kindly request to all participants who has unmuted their mic, please mute it on so that class could be in a peaceful situation, no external noise. So I'm starting today's topic. Is it clear? Visible? The PPT
Yes,
is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So today's topic is learning disability. We all heard about the topic. It's a very common burning issues these days, that learning disability. Most of the students or kids we will find they have some kind of learning disability. Rather, we would like to say learning difficulties. So here one question arises: what is the basic difference about learning disabilities and learning difficulties? Can anybody answer? Can I
Yes, ma'am.
some answer from the
Yeah,
participants?
ma'am. Some will be finding difficulty in learning, ma'am. Some will learn fastly, ma'am.
No, I'm asking about what does it mean by learning difficulties and learning disabilities? Are they same? Learning difficulties and learning disability?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am. No,
No,
ma'am.
What's
ma'am.
the basic difference?
Little bit different, ma'am.
So
Ma'am,
can you
learning
study?
disability means physical difficulty in physical movements. That is learning disability.
No, it's not exact answer, Munira. Actually, the basic difference between not in the learning term, the basic difference in the disability and difficulty terms. Difficulty, the child is facing some problem based upon the situation. Maybe the child is emotionally unstable or suffering from any physical condition that need a long-term cure, long time to get cured. Either this kind of situation, but disability, when we talk about disability, disability is a permanent situation. Maybe there is a structural change in the brain, so the child is not able to perform as expected. So the basic difference in the situation, difficulty is a temporary situation and disability is a permanent condition.
Ma'am, can you repeat once again? Difficulty.
Difficulty is a temporary situation. The child is or the student is facing some kind of difficulties to learn based upon the situation, but that can be rectified or in the near future. Maybe the child is not well physically, maybe had met with an accident, so he is under treatment. So the child is not able to go to school. So whatever the child is learning at home, So the learning outcome will be as not as expected. So this is learning difficulties. Maybe the child is emotionally unstable due to parents are going on separation. So child is emotionally unstable. So he's not able to expect as not able to perform as expected. So this is difficulty that could be solved in the near future with the therapy or whatever the support needed. But disability is a permanent condition. There is a structural change in the brain and brain functioning as well. For that purpose, the child is not able to learn and perform as expected. Here, so the next slide. I'm not gifted. When I read the word twist, trill across the page. When they settle, it is too late. The class has already moved on. I want to catch words one day. I want to hold them and then blow gently. Watch them float right out my hands. This is written by a poet. Her name is Jacqueline Woodson, and the book name is Brown Girl Dreaming. In that poem, he has clearly defined what exactly a child feels when he or she has some kind of learning disability. It's a very nice poem. I had just mentioned a part of the poem. So this is the condition. What the condition? I'm not gifted. When I read the word twist, trill across the pages. That means the words are moving in the pages. When they settle, it is too late. By the time the child is able to understand what is written in the page, it's too late. The class has already moved on. I want to catch the words one day. I want to hold them, then blow gently, watch them float right out my hands. Learning disability refers to an ongoing problem in one of the three areas. The areas are written, writing, and mathematical, which are foundation to one's ability to learn. As estimated, 5 to 15% of the school-going children are struggling with learning disability. An estimated 80% of those learning disability have reading disorder. Most common learning disability we see in the society is dyslexia. 1/3 of the people with learning disability are estimated also have ADHD. Like most of the cases when we talk about disability, we had seen disability come with some other associate condition. So learning disability is very closely associated with ADHD, that is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So those who have deficit in attention must be have some kind of learning difficulties, and when the situation is a permanent, then it's called learning difficulty or disability. It's called learning disability.
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 Learning disorder, if not recognized and managed, can cause problem throughout a person's life. Beyond having lower academic achievement, this problem includes an emotional, unstable, or psychological condition also that cause poor overall mental health, unemployment, underemployment, and dropping out the school. The child is no more interested to join the class because he is a slow learner or not able to understand the instruction. So the class, he or she is facing bullied by the classmates, or the teacher is not empathetic to other kids, so they are not interested to go to school or joining any other companies or workplaces. So it is directly or indirectly hampering their mental health. They are losing their self-confidence. They are going to depressive phases. So what exactly learning disability is? Specific learning disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder. It's not a condition that the child is only not paying attention, he is not interested, or manifestation of bad parenting. Nothing related to learning disability. It's a permanent damage. Somebody has unmuted. So It is a permanent condition when the brain functioning had damaged or altered due to some influence. Children with learning disability are as smart or smarter than their peers because with learning disability, IQ is not always associated. Though intellectual disability is an associate condition with learning disability, but those who have any kind of learning disability, it doesn't mean that the child have very low IQ. Okay, there are some other conditions. Due to that reason, the child is not able to perform as expected. But they may have difficulty in reading, writing, spelling, reasoning, recalling, and or organizing information. If left to figure out things by themselves or if taught in a conventional ways. If they left to understand the concept by themselves, they must have decoded in a wrong way. And if it's a lifelong issues, that's why it's called disability. That can be managed with therapy, support system, with special educations, but it cannot be cured. Then we will talk about definition of learning disability. So there are so many explanations, definitions given by so many psychologists and then DSM-5. But the most important definition what we follow that is given by the US government public law. India is also following the same. What it says, let's read it. Specific learning disability means a disorder in one or more of the basic psychological process involved in understanding or in using language, whatever the language, is it a spoken language or written language, which may manifest itself in an imperfect ability to listen, speak, read, spell, or to do mathematical conditions. The term includes such conditions as perceptual handicaps, brain injury, minimal brain dysfunction, dyslexia, and developmental aphasia. The term does not include children who have learning problems, which are primarily the result of visual, hearing, or motor handicap, or mental retardation, or emotional disturbance, or environmental, cultural, or economical disadvantage. That's why I'm talking. Those child who have this kind of situation, that the learning problems are primarily result of visual, hearing, any kind of physical disability or intellectual disability, emotional disturbance, or environmental, cultural, or economical disadvantage, it is not included into the situation of learning disability. That's come under learning difficulties. And here I have mentioned the words mental retardation, motor handicap, though these words are, not used anymore. But still, as it is a definition, and I'm quoted the definition from the US government federal law, that's why I had not changed the words. But it is banned to use handicap and mental retardation words in today's society. Okay, so the definition itself say the what is included in the learning disability and what condition is excluded in learning disability. So one more definition, that is National Joint Committee on Learning Disability definition of learning disability is: learning disability is a general term that refers to a heterogeneous group of disorders manifested by significant difficulties in the acquisition and use of listening, speaking, reading, writing, reasoning, or mathematical abilities. This disorder are instrict to the individual presumed to be due to central nervous system dysfunction and may occur across the lifespan. This is a lifelong condition. Problem in self-regulatory behaviors, social perception, and social interaction may exist with learning disability, but do not by themselves constitute a learning disability. Although learning disability may occur uh, may occur with other handicapping condition, for example, sensory impairment, mental retardation, serious emotional disturbance, or with extrinsic influences such as cultural, social, economical disadvantage. They are not the result of this condition or influences. So more or less the same. The situation, the definition is explaining what may occur with what situation may occur with learning disability and what is excluded. So learning means not only restricted to copies and books. Learning means how to behave in a social situation. That is also a learning. So here they have mentioned that they have facing problem in self-regulatory behaviors, social perception and social interaction may exist with learning disability but do not themselves constitute a learning disability. Although learning disability may occur with concomitantly with other handicapping conditions. Now in about RPWD Act 2016. So it has been put under intellectual disability. Intellectual disability, a condition characterized by significant limitation both in intellectual functioning, that is reasoning, learning, problem solving, and adaptive behavior, which covers a wide range of everyday social and practical skills. Then specific learning disability means a heterogeneous group of conditions wherein there is a deficit in processing language, spoken or written, that may be manifest itself as a difficulty to comprehend, speak, read, write, spell, or doing any mathematical condition, and includes such condition as perceptual disabilities, that is dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, and developmental aphasia. So, this three was the basic definition. First one is given by the US government, second one is given by the National Joint Commission of Learning Disability, and the third one is RPWD Act 2016. So till now we have talked about the introduction part of the learning disability, what exactly learning disability, and the definition of the learning disability. If anybody had any query, they can ask, or should I move on to the next slide?
Ma'am, accusation means?
Accusation means gathering the knowledge.
Ma'am, can you repeat the seventh slide?
Seventh slide. This is the definition. This is the definition given by US government public law, and it has been adopted by India as well. You want me to read the slide?
No, ma'am, it's okay.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of motor handicaps?
Physical handicap. That is the situation when they are having difficulty with CP. Okay, they have facing disability due to some physical condition, but it is associated with the legs and hands.
Okay. And ma'am,
Ma'am,
dyspraxia.
can you repeat 9th slide, ma'am?
Yeah, okay, I will. Yeah. Any more query?
Ma'am, dyspraxia meaning?
Thank you, ma'am.
We will talk about the types. Okay, this is a different kind of LD. We will that, as I told in the first, that it is a series of webinars. Maybe 4 or 5 will be there. Chilla had a plan 4. Maybe if the content is more, I will have to move on to 5 or 6. So we will talk about each and every type of LD. Mainly dyspraxia is type of learning disability where the person is having difficulty to persuade or acquisition of the situation, understanding the distance, okay, this kind of thing. You want me to move on to 9th slide, right? 9th slide is the definition given by the RPWD Act 2016.
Ma'am, what is the full form of RPW?
What is the full form of RPW, ma'am?
RPWD, full form of RPWD, you want to know?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Mm.
PWD means person with disability. RPWD means right of the person with disability. PWD means person with disability. And when we talk about RPWD, earlier it was PWD Act. Now the revised one is right of the person with disabilities.
Visible, ma'am.
Sorry,
Green is not visible, ma'am. Now, right now it was visible.
it's not visible.
Now it is visible, ma'am.
Ma'am, right person with learning disability.
RPWD,
Yes, ma'am.
Rights of Person with Disability Act. So moving to the next slide. That is what in general, what does it mean by learning disability or specific learning disability? The terms are same, okay? The term specific learning disability means a disorder in one or more of the basic psychological process involved in understanding or in using language, spoken or written, which disorder may manifest itself in the imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or do mathematical condition. So, in all the definition, what is common? The common, they are inability to understand and respond in the various factors, and the main factors included their inability to read, write, speak, and spell and do mathematical conditions.
Ma'am, what is mathematical condition, ma'am?
Mathematical calculations, not condition.
Oh, the calculation.
Calculations. Yes. Disorders include such terms include such as condition as perceptual disabilities, brain injury, minimal brain dysfunction, dyslexia, and developmental aphasia. Disorder not includes what is not included into the considerable clause for learning disabilities. I have already explained. Somebody can read the slide. That doesn't include when the person having problems in the visual problem or hearing problem or any physical disability, environmental, socio-economical, cultural disadvantages. This situation when the person is facing difficulties related on this situation, that is excluded. Now we will talk about cause. The main cause for learning disabilities due to alteration of brain function and brain structuring, that is neurodevelopmental disorder. But what caused this situation? Maybe poor nutrition. Exact cause is not known, but still some studies have evidence that poor nutrition, exposure to lead in water or paint, that cause the differences in the brain and the function of the brain, maybe due to some injury. Maternal illness during pregnancy, that mother is going with some psychological disorder and taking regular medicine or hypertension or addicted to some intoxicated substances. This can be lead to learning disability.
Ma'am, screen is not showing.
In my part, it's showing. The slides are not
It's
visible.
showing.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am, it's visible.
Ma'am.
Visible. Visible. Visible, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, check on you.
Ma'am, not visible.
So check your internet connection because
Not visible, ma'am.
Ma'am, not visible.
Is it visible now?
Yes,
Visible,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So, birth complications that block the flow of the oxygen to the baby's brain, injury or illness such as meningitis in the early childhood, some
What is
genetic
it?
causes, or the other association condition like ID or ASD. This condition can lead to learning disability.
Slide is not visible.
Ma'am, the
Yes,
slide
ma'am.
is not
Screen of
visible at all.
the full screen, laptop screen has been displayed, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Your screen we can see.
Am I visible
Yeah,
clearly?
not visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are
Yes.
visible.
Yes, ma'am.
You are
Yes,
visible,
ma'am.
ma'am, but
The slides are not visible.
not
Wait.
visible.
Now,
No,
Now,
It's
now,
ma'am.
yeah,
coming,
yeah,
ma'am.
it's
Yes,
coming.
ma'am. Visible,
Now I
ma'am.
am visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, now you can
due to
see.
some
Yes, ma'am.
technical issues, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was talking about the cause of learning disability. Uh, there is no such evidence that the cause I have listed into the slide that will directly lead to the situation that can be considered learning disability. But still, some assumption can be done that poor nutrition, exposure to lead, or difference in brain functioning that if the child have a hydrocephalus, microcephalus, this kind of condition, the brain is not properly grown or they have some difficulties to grow. I mean, the brain cells are not grown properly and they have not developed, matured enough to function as expected. So there are, I mean, the child can be face learning disability. Then maternal illness during pregnancy, that the mother has having hypertension or undergoing such psychological medications, intoxicated substance abuse. This can be the cause of learning disability. Birth complications, that is lack of blood flow, lack of oxygen. Uh, that maybe the blood flow is restricted, so that's lead to be restriction of oxygen flow into the brain. So that can be lead to a condition that learning disability. Injury or illness such as meningitis in early childhood, genetic cause or other associate condition, that is if the child having autism or any intellectual disability, that can be associate condition with learning disability. Then we will talk about the sign of learning disability. In this normal psychological development, the child is expected to acquire a certain set of basic cognition and motor skills. Any significant delay or gap in this development could be a sign of learning disability. Research and prevent test and assessment have to be conducted before diagnosis of the condition. So the child is facing some problem, he is not able to learn, we cannot directly say the child might have learning disability. So that proper test should be administered before labeling any child having learning disability. So I have listed some of the sign that is can be visual for everyone, that is observable in a very small time, easy to understand also. So, no test is required to observe this kind of situation. But if the person having this sign, it doesn't mean the person have learning disability. So the sign of LD may vary slightly during each stage of the childhood, and based on the childhood stages, I have mentioned the sign. And in this preschool, the child may have some of these difficulties in preschool. Developing speaking skills at normal age, pronouncing simple words, recognizing letter and words, learning numbers, rhymes, or songs, Concentrating on task, following rules and directions, using fine and gross motor skills to do physical tasks. These are the warning signs for preschool level. Then primary school level. The child may have difficulty connecting letter and sounds, differentiating between similar sound or words or rhyming words. That is cat, mat. The phonic awareness is not properly developed. Please, participants, mute your microphone. Chetima, please mute yourself. Please mute yourself, Chetima. Yeah, thank you.
Listening, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Reading and spelling and writing accurately, distinguishing right from left, for example, confusing about 25 and 52, and most common things in the learning disability, we had seen the child is not able to understand the difference between B and D, S and 5, that's a similar kind of words because they have problem in understanding the directions, recognizing the letter or alphabets, using correct mathematical symbol for doing math problem, remembering numbers or facts, learning new skills, memorizing poem or answers, understanding the concept of time. Because understanding the concept of time is a very difficult task that you have seen something and you have to calculate the time because the minute is not mentioned in the clock. So the child have to see the hour hand, the numbers are related to the hours, then they have to calculate both the hand. They have to learn the 5 tables, then they will be able to understand the minute hand. So it's very confusing and it's very difficult to teach a child who have any kind of intellectual disability or autism or learning disability. They face so difficult to understand the time concept. Eye hand coordination is being unable to understand. That can be lead to an accident. Let me give you an example. Like you must have seen people who are crossing roads. They sometimes take few steps they go few steps and they again come back. They are not able to understand the distance, whether they will be able to cross the road when they are seeing that from the other side a car or a bus is coming. So they will not able to understand and calculate the time whether with that speed they will be able to cross the road or not. So that lead to some accident. Task involving fine motor skills, that is holding pencils, tying shoelace, buttoning shirts, and so on. Keeping track of own possessions like stationary items. Then the middle school. The child may have difficulty in spelling similar words, reading loud, writing assignments, solving word problems in maths. Handwriting is very messy handwriting because they don't have proper grip and they are not able to maintain the pressure. Either there is a much pressure or less pressure. Memorizing or recalling the facts, understanding body language and facial expression. Maybe the child, maybe the teacher is disturbed by his or her action, but by observing the facial expression of the teacher, the child is not able to understand. Maybe he is not behaving in the class properly, or he should keep quiet. He is not able to understand. Showing appropriate emotional reaction in a learning environment. Maybe they are either very aggressive or rebellious because they don't know the answer. They don't know how to answer the questions because they are facing difficulty to memorize. So sometimes they are saying, okay, I know the answer, but I will not tell. So they become rebellious. When if the teacher keep asking about any answer, they become rebellious or they don't raise their hand. If they know the answer, but due to inability to express themselves, they don't raise the hands. Then the high school. The child may have. I will take your questions. Please wait for some time. Let me finish this slide. In the high school, the child may have difficulty in spelling words accurately, reading and writing tasks, summarizing and paraphrasing and answering applications problem or questions in test, poor memory, adjusting to new surroundings, understanding abstract concepts, focusing consistently. The child may lack of concentration on some tasks while focusing excessively on others. It's based on their interest and how easily they are able to grab the material. So these are the signs about learning disability according to various level. Yes, somebody was asking some questions.
Ma'am, some children they write mirror image. Will we include that in disability?
Yeah, that could be included in learning disability, but itself it's not a sign that can be after that you observing that you can say that the child have learning disability. There must be some other associate sign and symptoms, and a proper test should be administered by a professional psychologist or a special educator to label them they as kids with learning disability, because in most of the cases the small child they do the mirror image error. They confuse about b and d, p and q, because they face difficult too about the orientation.
Okay, ma'am.
So till now we had talked about the sign of learning disabilities. You have any queries? Where I have listed, I tried to do my best on the listing the sign based upon the level, school level, according to age group. Anybody has any query related to that?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Ma'am, I have a doubt because that disability is by birth the child will have, right?
Yes, mostly in most cases.
Okay. Then why they are differentiating in high school, middle school like that? Because the child could not do the things from the birth itself, no?
No, it's not always true, because maybe actually the categorization is based on the symptoms, observable symptoms. Maybe you don't know the child when she is or he is 6 year old. By the time you get to know the child, he is already in the high school.
Okay.
So how you would know the background of the child being a class teacher? So
Okay. If the child reaches the if the child reaches the high school, if she has this disability means then it is not by birth, no? Suddenly she is struggling the disability like that.
No, it's not like that. In the high school, this kind of signs are observable. It doesn't mean that it suddenly appears. The child
Okay, at
has
the
to
age
come
of that child, at the age of that child, the observer can find that
Yes,
due to
this is
these
the sign.
symptoms.
So one more thing, let me very clear. In the starting, I have cleared about the confusion about difficulty and disability. Again, there are terms sign and symptoms and characteristics. You will face three kind of terms. One is sign, another is symptoms, and third one is characteristic. So what is the difference? Symptoms and characteristic is the same thing, but sign is different. Okay, sign and symptoms, these are both different things. Sign means these are the symptoms that is observable by the physicians, but the specialized person, those who are professionals in this field. Symptoms is the common complaint from the parents or the student itself. Maybe sometimes student will come and say, so I'm not able to focus. Maybe I'm just giving an example. So here focusing means the child showing some symptoms, but the professional is observing that the child is not maintaining eye contact, is not able to consistently focus on any task. So here it is.
Through these signs, we can find out whether the child is disabled or not, right?
Yes, this is the sign. This is the sign, observable sign from the professionals, maybe the teachers, special educators, pediatrician, or psychologists. This is the sign for them. Is it clear? It's not. It doesn't mean that the sign is observable in the high school means the child don't have the problem during the preschool. But if you are observing a kid who is already in the high school, but you don't know that what are the difficulties the child is facing while they are in the preschool. So that's why I have categorized. So, but you can see that most of the concept is same, that they have poor memory, they are not able to understand the concept, they are facing problem in directions, lack in concentrations. These are almost same. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So now I will talk about the characteristic. Just now I had cleared the confusion. What is characteristic? Characteristic means symptoms. So sign and symptoms is different. Now we will talk about the symptoms. Condition must be persistent over a long period of time. Presence of this condition does not necessarily mean a person is having learning disability. What does it mean? Why I had put in a separate slide? Because here I am emphasizing that the characteristic itself doesn't define that the person who have exhibiting this kind of characteristic, the child will label or the person will label as a learning disability. In some cases, you will find that when the child is grown up as an adult, he will say, "अभी तो मुझे लगता है कि well, I was a kid, I was having learning disability." Because with so much difficulties, he was able to understand some mathematical conditions. Sorry, calculations. He is good in maybe good in English, but he was not able to understand maths. So always the marks in the exams in the whatever numbers they used to get, that the marks, it's always less. But the child is good in English or maybe in other language, maybe good in science. So now when by the time they become adult, they heard about all this terminology, so they just correlate, while I was a kid, maybe I was having learning disability. But it's need to be ruled out, but still they feel that whether we do have, this question is almost every adult who had faced some kind of difficulties during their school age, they have this question in their mind. What are the characteristics? Here again I have listed according
Ma'am,
to the skills. Yes.
can I share something regarding the earlier slide?
About the sign?
About the previous
Okay.
slide
We
that you
will
had
talk
shown.
about that at the end of the session, okay? Because there
Okay,
are
ma'am.
so many slides left
Sure,
on.
sure, ma'am.
Okay.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. So about the reading skills, poor decoding skills, poor reading fluency, slow reading rate, lack of self-monitoring reading skills, poor comprehension and retention, difficulty identifying important ideas in context, extreme difficulty building ideas and images, difficulty integrating new ideas to existing knowledge, weak vocabulary skill, extreme difficulty understanding words or grammar, difficulty recognizing high frequency words, oral comprehension is noticeable stronger than reading comprehension, extremely difficulty focusing attention on the printed marks, difficulty controlling eye movement across the page, webby or shimmering pages not attributed due to poor vision. They will see that the pages are moving like a wave or there is some reflection of the lights. So they will not able to understand what's written on the page. This is all about reading skill. Now we will talk about spelling skills. So phonological awareness is noticeable stronger than spelling ability. Frequent spelling error of the high frequency words. Extreme difficulty with homonyms and regular spelling patterns, no understanding of the relationship of phonic to written language, no understanding of common spelling rules. Common spelling rules like cat will be CAT cat or KAT cat. Week, WEAK week or WEEK week. So this is the common spelling rules. So they will not able to understand the common rules. Inadequate understanding of phonic even with instruction. Again, CAT cat or KAT cat. CAKE cake or KEKE cake. So they will not be understand from the phonological awareness. Then written expression skills difficulties. poor written fluency, unable to compose complete grammatical sentences, difficulty organizing written information, very poor handwriting, extremely poor alignment because they are not able to maintain a straight line when writing, inability to take notes or copy information from a book or a board. Oral expression is noticeably stronger than written expression. Extremely weak and proofreading skills. So here I would like to mention one skill that on the oral expression is noticeable stronger than written expression. So the kids have learning disability. We are considering a situation where the kids have learning disability. So in the reading skills, we had seen that the child is not able to read, paraphrasing, reading, comprehension problem. But in reading expressions, we are seeing that they have good oral expressions, but the written expression is poor. So here are differences coming. So a child have learning disability does not mean that he had difficulty in all the skills. Maybe he is good in speaking, but facing problem in writing. That's why dyslexia and dysgraphia, they had different categories. Then oral language skills. This is speaking skill. Inability to hear small difference between sound, not attributable to a hearing loss, particularly vowel sounds. The long vowel, small vowel, they were not able to make differences of these words. Difficulty articulation thoughts or ideas orally. Difficulty pronunciation words. Inability to blend sound together to form words. There is blending. In the kids, first they will get the phoning awareness, then they will start with blending, but they will not able to understand the rules of blending. Difficulty of listening and responding to a series of directions. Disorganized recall of fact or details. The kids who have learning disability, if you ask them to list down what they had done from morning till night, they will be able to tell but they will not maintain the series. Maybe they will put, okay, I had breakfast, then I went to playground. Then they will come back to, okay, I went to school. So the link will not be maintained because disorganized recall of facts or details. Then the mathematical skills. Poor mathematical fluency, difficulty memorizing multiplication tables, difficulty in identifying multiples or factors, poor basic calculation skills, difficulty understanding words or application problems, poor understanding of mathematical concepts. Maybe they are able to do addition, multiplications, but when they go for the problem sum, they will not be able to do it. Maybe it's a simple problem sum, but they will not be able to understand because they don't have the skills to comprehend, to understand the basic concept, to get the key factors. They are facing difficulties to do all these things. So that's why if it's a simple addition also, they can do phone number addition, phone numbers with two lines they will able to do because they are a plus sign, they are visible plus sign. But when they go for a problem sum, they will not be able to comprehend and understand the concept. So they will not able to do simple problem sum also. Difficulty sorting out irrelevant information. Lower visual perceptual or visual spatial ability. Inability to transfer basic mathematical concept to solve problems with unpredictable information. Inability to use basic facts with more complex calculations. This is about mathematical skills. Then memory skills. Extremely weak ability to store and retrieve information efficiently. Extremely weak ability to hold information for immediate use. That is short-term memory. They have very poor short-term memory. They face difficulty to retrieve information and organized as well. Reasoning skills. Extremely weak ability to solve problems, particularly when information or procedure is unfamiliar. Extremely difficulty recognizing, transforming, or using specific information to reach general conclusions. So this is the skills. The skills are lack. They face inability to perform these skills. Okay. So now about the assessment. So the assessment mostly into the next part. Here I will just talk about what is assessment and the type of assessment, the name of the assessment types, and in elaborately we will discuss in the next part. So next part will be the type of LD and types of assessment as well. So this is the definitions. Assessment refer to the process of gathering and analyzing information in order to make instructional, administrative, and or guidance decision about for an individual. So in short term, we can say assessment means gathering information and processing them in a channelized form to get some information out of it so that we can guide based on this information to an individual. So first is processing the information. Sorry, first one is gathering the information, then processing the information, and then make out some administrative decision out of it, and then guiding the individual. This is the steps of assessment. Another definition: assessment involves the systematic collection, organization, and interpretation of information about an individual to enable decision to be made out about him. So they just have mentioned the steps. First steps is systematic collection. Systematic collection is what? What they will collect. Participant, systematic collection of what?
Information regarding the student.
Very good. Then organizing and interpretation of that information about an individual to enable decision to made about him. Okay, this is all about assessment. So why do we need to assess a child? What is the importance of assessment?
To improve their knowledge.
Sorry?
To improve their knowledge, ma'am.
You were not clearly audible. I just want
To know, to know about the child.
know about the child.
The purpose of assessment is to know what is the ability of the child
What
and
exactly is the problem? Is
yes,
there any
and
problem?
where the child is struggling and where he needs support.
Yeah. Screening ruled out that the child must have any problem, but assessment helped to understand what problem the child is facing, and after assessment we are able to give a solution or a guidance to the child what need to be done based on the situation, based on the problem the child is facing. So now the types of assessment. It is not the type and how many types of assessment. It is not that type, okay? Because we had typed that what are the types of assessment that NRT, CRT. I'm not talking about all these things. This is the type of assessment that need to be done to rule out whether the child have any learning disability or not. But these are the fields that need to be assessed. First, the clinical assessment. Then the observation assessment. Then the educational assessment. Though it is a learning disability, we don't assess the child only based upon the educational condition. Then curriculum.
Ma'am, the writing in this slide is very small. We're not able to see, ma'am. Can you increase the font size?
No, I
Is it
cannot.
possible?
Not increase. I'm trying to make the picture bigger. Is it
Yes, ma'am. If you can do that, please.
visible? That much.
Yes, much better, ma'am. Thank you.
Much better. So this is the areas or this is the field that need to be assessed when we are going to assess the child for learning disability. The first is the clinical assessment that will be done by a pediatrician and a clinical psychologist. Then observational assessment. Who will be responsible for observational assessment? The class teacher, the subject
Parents.
teacher, the parents. Then educational assessment. Who will do the educational assessment? A psychologist
Teacher.
and a special educator. Then curriculum-based assessment, who will do? A special educator or a class teacher or a subject teacher. Then the psychological assessment. The psychological assessment will done by a clinical psychologist. Then behavioral assessment will be done by a behavioral therapist, whether he could be a behavioral therapist or a clinical psychologist. Then functional assessment. The functional assessment will be done by a special educator. So these are the areas that all the areas need to be assessed before labeling up kids with LD. Because if the child have any kind of psychological difficulties, so facing psychological problem, and due to that psychological problem, the kid is facing learning problems, it doesn't come under learning disabilities. It's considered as learning difficulties. So, as same as behavioral assessment, maybe the child is inattentive, and due to that lack of attention, he is not able to perform as expected. So, the learning outcome is always lower than the expectations. So, we will not consider this child as having learning disabilities. Though the child needs support and therapies, but we will not label the child as a disabled child. So it was all about today's presentation. Today I had covered, and here the most important quote. Okay, the only disability in life is a bad attitude. Can anybody explain why I have mentioned this? Because we had so many parents and teachers in today's discussion.
Yes, ma'am. It means that if we have an attitude that this child is useless, he or she cannot learn anything, then that attitude is not going to help the child develop.
Yes, it's true.
Yes,
First, we
ma'am,
need to
right.
change our attitude. Okay, because the only disability in life is a bad attitude. Because everybody is unique. Every child is unique. They must have some ability before identifying anyone that the person is disabled. We have to find out their abilities. If we give proper support to that kid, they will be able to do. Maybe they are not good at studies, but some kids is very good in painting. So we can put them to some professional painting courses. Maybe some kids are very good in acting. Can you tell me anyone? Just a general question. Can you tell any famous personality from acting who had a disability? Any kind of learning disability?
Abhishek Bachchan.
Yes. And can you tell me which disability he is having? He's dyslexic.
Dyslexic, huh? He's dyslexic.
Dyslexia.
Yeah.
So actually, you had when you go through with the famous personalities, you will see them so many cases of learning disabilities. As they are now a very renowned person, we just overlook their struggle, but they are facing difficulties in today's life also. In the actors, they are facing difficulty when they are reading their scripts, but it doesn't affect their acting skills. They just need a support. Somebody is from the set, they just prompt the dialogues and they are very good at performing. Okay, so kids with disability are just kids.
Yeah, we can watch the movie Tare Zameen Par. In that, they have shown that.
That's Tare Zameen Par is a very good example. They had set a very good example, and it's a successful awareness campaign, we can say. So it was all about today's presentation. Today we had talked about the general terminologies related to learning disability, the concept, the understanding we had about learning disability. We had talked about this. We had talked about the definitions. We had talked about the signs and the symptoms as well. And then we had just touched the assessment. And In the next session, we will talk about the type of assessment and type of learning disability. So now the question I answer.
Ma'am, Vandana, I have a question. Like, I'm doing a case study in a particular child. The
You are
only thing is
not
like,
audible
when
clearly.
I
Can you write it down?
hello, hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, hello. Tell me. Yeah, Bandana, you are audible. Maybe some.
Yeah, I have a particular kid, like he's a very hyperactive kid. When I spoke to their parents, he's a very hyperactive kid. But the thing is like his grade, everything is very good in school, even in class also. Whatever the marks he's scoring in all the subjects, he's very good. The only problem is like he won't sit in one place. um, and the school is, I mean, like when the mom has to sit in one place, he won't sit in one place. He'll be roaming from one place to other place, and he want to speak to everyone. Like he want to interact with
Okay,
everyone in the class.
answer the questions. You want to know that the child can be labelized at learning disability or not, having learning disability or not.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
So, what is questions? You were telling me about the problem you are facing in the class, right? About the
No, no,
symptoms.
no. Yeah, problem he is facing in the class.
Symptoms. You
He's
are
very
talking
good.
about the symptoms and sign and symptoms. So, what is your question?
Problem is like you want to interact in the class, and sometimes it disturbs the students. Like he'll go and he'll ask what you are doing, or anything is like if someone once he consider him as a friend, if someone do something to the other guy also, he'll go and
People to understand that you are talking about the sign and symptoms, but leave that portion and come to the question. What you exactly want to know? Don't talk about the
no,
sign
I
and
just want to know whether it's a learning disabilities or what
it's
is
not
the.
a learning disability. The child has a attention deficit, hyperactive attention deficit, ADHD or ADD, whatever that
So
needs to be
it's an hyperactive attention disability, right?
maybe associated with learning difficulties, but that need to be ruled out. A professional help is
But
required.
learning disability, I don't see any learning disability because I see his grades and all, everything is good, and he want to participate
He
whatever
is
the
a
competition is
hyperactive
there.
kid or overexcited. He's a mostly
Yeah,
overexcited.
yeah, that's what I heard from his
He
parents.
needs a
Like he's
behavioral
in,
therapist. He needs a counselor and behavioral therapist. Okay,
yeah,
nothing
he's in
with learning.
hyperactive and he's overexcited. Means I mean like first 2 years when he was
How
in
old? How old the kid is?
10 years.
10 years. Okay.
That first 2 years, the Corona era, they made them to sit in the house and learn the things, right? So
That's
after that, when last year when he went to school, he was very excited. Like, what is there? What is not there? Whom to speak?
So now Anita has raised his hand. Before going to Anita, I would like to answer a questions from the chat box. But ma'am, these signs happen in many cases in the preschool. So how we can understand that this child having it? So first of all,
So it's not a learning disability, right? It's just an hyperactive kid with
but from the sign and symptoms, I cannot say that the child have a learning disability or not because I don't know the child. So professional help is needed to rule out whether the child have any learning disability or not.
But whatever you want to do, you will do in just a minute. Like you want to complete the homework, you'll just complete it
That's
in five
something
minutes.
different issues. That's something different issues. That cannot be
Oh,
considered that whether the child have learning disability or not.
okay.
Alicia,
So it's an hyperactive kid.
yes. Alicia,
Yeah.
like,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, welcome. Alicia, you had mentioned that the child, most of the child in a preschool exhibit this kind of sign. Yeah, it's true. But like for ruled out LD, the situation might be persistent in the long time. If the child in the preschool facing some disability difficulties, it doesn't conclude that the child has learning disability. So there are much more areas that need to be assessed. That I have talked about. All these areas need to be assessed before concluding anything that the child whether having learning disability or not. नहीं अनिता ADHD ठीक नहीं होता ADHD
हाँ मैम मैं ADHD लिख रही थी पर ये हो गया
वो ठीक नहीं होता it's not a disability but it's a persistent condition it doesn't come under disability situation till now but it ठीक नहीं होता. This is the manageable situation. If you treat the child properly, give proper support, then it can be manageable, mostly manageable. Okay,
Okay,
what is
ma'am.
proofreading skill? Proofreading skills mean understanding the error into the context. Naveli, you have raised your hand. You want to ask me any question?
Yes, ma'am. I had a question that here you've discussed the definition of assessment. There are two definitions which are widely accepted, but both of them come from different time frames. One I think is from 1960s and one is from the 1990s. So over that duration there might have been some changes in the medical field or in the assessment fields. So I just wanted to know, are both these definitions equally acceptable, or
Yes.
is one more acceptable than the other?
When in the higher studies, when you will ask about the definition, you have to give the definition, the name of the person who had defined, and the time frame as well. You are correct. With time, the definition changes. Like RPWD, we had talked about RPWD. RPWD in the initial state, it was just PWD with various revisions,
Okay.
variations when we are in a situation that these clauses can be widely accepted and covered most of the situation or scenarios, then it will be come under as an act or any changes done into the act. So definition will still exist. Maybe it can be changed. There are some new definitions can arise, but those definition I had put, this is widely accepted. And when we find we go into depth of the definition, we will find that the words or the context, what exactly the word will be, the context is same. The meaning of the definition, the words may be arranged in different ways. Somebody had made a lengthy definition, somebody has conceptual in a nutshell, but the understanding, what exactly they are trying to put into, it's always same, whether it is the definition in 2023 or it is the definition in 2093. Maybe there is some addition, like for intellectual disability, they had
Okay,
changed
so
the age range. They had changed, before it was
so
onset of age 18. Now they have changed the age range to 21, but the key factors, that is adaptive behaviors and then ADLD skills, that are still there. Okay.
okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome. So, hello, ma'am. How to handle most stubborn boy at the home and what to do when they are not concentrate to study? Charushila. That's a very difficult question to answer. So, actually, why? First, we need to rule out why the child is not paying attention to the study. Whether the child is having any sort of difficulties or have any he's not able to pay attention, or maybe the rapport is not built with the teachers or whoever teaching the kids. First, you understanding the clause, why he is stubborn, why he is not paying attention, or he is not interested in the studies, that need to be ruled out. And after that, for that, ABC analysis can be done, and after that, you will able to plan anything. It's not that easy. Key. I will just give a solution, and I will able to understand what exactly going on there. Okay. Just try to understand why the kid is troubled. Maybe some deprivations are going on into his mind. That's why he is not paying attention to his studies. Maybe he is not at all interested in that subject. Maybe he is good into something else. Maybe the learning patterns is different. Maybe he is a visual learner or auditory learner, and we are trying to put the kids in some different scenario. Okay. Any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Anyone else?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you for clarifying
So
the
this is
doubt.
the end of today's sessions.
Thank you, ma'am.
It is a series of sessions. Okay, please don't miss the sessions. I will try to put more information. Maybe it will
When will be the next session, ma'am?
next session will be you will get notification over the mail.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
the topic for the next webinar will be types of assessment and types of LG.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay. Good night, everyone. Take care. See you.
Good